Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Worldwide Weather Watch. Today is October 16th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. We're looking at Asia right here. There's North and South Korea. You can see Japan is right there, and to the very far upper right is Alaska. So we're going to talk a little bit about some storms rolling across the Pacific Ocean, some very cold air across portions of Asia. We'll take a look at the lower 48 states and a little look at Antarctica here as well. So if we take a look here across the Pacific Ocean, you can kind of see this is the strongest storm right now in the northern hemisphere, although it is weakening. It's right across portions of southern Alaska and coming across Kodiak Island as we speak. And if we take a look at the northern hemisphere, there's the Hawaiian Islands right there. You see Japan, there's the lower 48 states of the USA, there's Africa all the way off to the right. You can see Greenland right here. We're looking at 2-meter temperature. So I put this into motion. You can see just how much more warm it is across the equatorial regions versus what is going on across the North Pole and across portions of Russia and Mongolia right now. And if I scroll through here, you kind of notice that almost like a heartbeat signal there. That is the diurnal temperature changes there as we go through the daytime heating across the planet and then the overnight lows. And if I scroll through that a little bit quicker here, we're going to scroll through that a little bit quicker here now, and you'll see like across the lower 48 states of the USA, you can kind of see that diurnal heating as we go on a daily basis. And you see how the ocean temperatures don't change near as much. And also something else, if you're paying close attention, you can kind of see these mid-latitude cyclones ripple through the atmosphere here at 2,500 feet. And you can see the frontal systems and a lot of cold air mixing with warmer air off to the south. And that is the mid-latitude cyclone development area there across portions of the northern Pacific Ocean. So fun stuff to look at there. And if we take a look at who is exceptionally cold right now, as I mentioned, portions of Mongolia and portions of Russia are quite a bit below normal for this time of year. Checking in here as of last night, looks like some areas were 35 plus below normal for this time of year. So kind of interesting there as well. They're getting a little bit of a head start here for some snow development across portions of Russia. And that in turn can actually affect things across some of North America as well. When you get that cross-polar flow, the more cold air you build up out there and the more snow cover you have on the ground, the colder it gets. So that can actually have some impact here on the North American continent as you go on in through the winter months. You can also see how, above average temperatures right across the North Pole and portions of Greenland, northern Canada here as well, in some of the central and central southern USA. Now, if we take a look at mean sea level pressure, again, there's the strongest storm currently in the northern hemisphere there across southern Alaska. But if we scroll through there, you can see it is weakening. And also look at that Arctic high. That's what's causing that cold air there across portions of Asia. We're scrolling through the extended forecast, and you can see some really powerful storms getting ramped up here across the northeast Pacific Ocean, across the Gulf of Alaska, and potentially taking aim at the Pacific Northwest as we go on in through the next couple of weeks or so, as that Arctic high continues to dominate portions of Asia. Now, again, 925 millibars, this is a similar look at what we just looked at, but we're a little bit further up in the atmosphere, and you can still see some of the diurnal variation as we scroll through the daytime hours. This is just raw temperature. This is not a temperature anomaly, but you can also really see these mid-latitude cyclones and these frontal systems. These are associated with atmospheric rivers, and you can see just how much cooler it is across the northern hemisphere and the North Pole there versus the equatorial regions. You can also see, if you see what looks like ripples in a pond out there, that is deep convection moving across some of the tropics there, and those are gravity waves kind of moving about. So fun stuff there. Nothing going on really. Joint Typhoon Warning Center. I like to look at the Western Pacific because this is a big heat engine that affects a lot of the circulation across planet Earth. And that does tie into account with the ENSO El Nino, which I'm going to do another video here on probably at some portion, at some period. It's sometime today is what I'm trying to say, because we just got some new data here, and we'll take a look at the latest on El Nino / La Nina. So looking at the lower 48, so you can see as we go on into the next couple of days, we do get some convective available potential energy across the region as we go on in towards Friday and Saturday. So there is the chance for some severe storm development here. Kind of what's known as a second season occurs across some of Tornado Alley as we get into the fall. It's generally not as active as what goes on during the spring, but I just thought I would point that out. And something that's interesting for people who live across the West Coast and Alaska or other parts of the world, you can really see how our frontal systems swoop across the Great Great Plains here and down towards the southeast USA and all the way towards the Gulf of Mexico. Look at that dry air behind that cold front kind of move down across the region. This is dew point temperature, so you can really see, you can imagine if you're living across Arkansas and Missouri there, you're getting some nice moist air. Then all of a sudden this cold front swoops through and there's not much stopping it. There's no big terrain features out here like across some portions of the West. So yeah, interesting look at a cold front there. And also now looking at the biggest wave heights across the planet. So if we scroll on in through for the next couple of weeks, you can see the purple out there is the biggest wave heights. But I spotted this one right there. Look at that, 93.4. I believe this is that wave area right there. So North Pacific is the winner for today, but also some big waves approaching the Pacific Northwest coastline. Here is this jet stream is going to be very active, and the storm track is going to be raging here across the northern Pacific Ocean. And taking a look, as I mentioned, La Nina, El Nino, we do have that look of La Nina right now. And some of the temperature readings there do say that we are in current La Nina conditions as we speak. That's supposed to continue on in through early portions of the winter, but then it should be transitioning back towards a neutral, and maybe next year we'll be headed towards El Nino. No promises on that right now. And also, if you notice, there's been a lot of chatter about the warm water there across the northern Pacific, but if we get this storm track and really get these deep lows moving across the region, you'll start to stir up some of this water and start to, get back a little bit closer to normal here, even though it has been quite warm. And you can see, basically Hawaiian Islands northward all the way to the Aleutians, very warm waters. Now, looking at Antarctica here really quick, you can see the purple octopus here. And if I put this into motion, you can just see the amazing process that is going on in the upper levels of the atmosphere. Very cold air. And you can see it protects Antarctica here with the strong jet stream from getting a lot of these systems. That's why the interior of Antarctica gets very little precipitation, when you start to compare it to some outlying areas. Some of these storms get towards the coastal areas of Antarctica, but as far as making it across the interior, it's much less. And if we take a look at that, this is total precipitation in millimeters. I'll scroll through a 2-week period here, and you can see how some of those storms do approach the coastline, but not much of that precipitation makes it inland. So just kind of an interesting look there. And you can kind of see the tropical regions way off to the, what do you call it? The north. Is this south and that's north? I don't know. I'm all turned around with the southern hemisphere. But again, you can kind of see just the lack of precipitation, generally speaking, that Antarctica gets. You can see a little bit spreads across some of the interior areas, and then you can imagine that falls as snow. And of course, it sticks around for a while. Now, I mentioned that snow across portions of Asia. If we go back to September, you can kind of see that snowpack building up a little bit there. And you can kind of see the orange is sea ice. And you can kind of see how that ebbs and flows as we went through the last month. So yeah, product of that cold air currently across portions of Asia. So anyway, hope you guys are liking these videos. Let me know what you guys think of the channel. Anything else you'd like me to cover or go over. I'm just going to pick fun stuff. And I won't be doing these videos on a daily basis, but I'll try to do them, maybe a couple times, 2 times, 3 times a week, depending on what's going on across the planet. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day, and I'll talk to you guys later.